Here we go. One step at a time, don't be living on the line. I don't need a friend.
Hey gang, thank you for being in this session. Again, my name is Dux Raymond Sy. Feel free to call me Dux, and that's my real name. As you can imagine, I had a hard time growing with that name. Got my ducks in a row now. So let's get that going. Very excited, passionate about this topic, how you lead this thing called the enterprise social revolution. I've been doing a lot of work in the last few years. In fact, 10 years ago, I started doing a lot of work around this technology called SharePoint. To some of you, it's called ScarePoint, right? But the session for this topic, what I'm going to show you and talk about is not specific to SharePoint, but it's just in the idea of how do you drive change around enterprise social. How do you make people maximize enterprise social? You know, this is a big buzzword, enterprise social. Oh, we don't want that in our enterprise. People start putting pictures of their cat. There's no value. But I'm going to show you what the value is. But more importantly, I'm going to teach you the 3 specific steps on how we can make this happen. Are you guys ready? Only she's ready. Are you ready? All right. So again, I'm Dux, managing partner of Innovative E. We're based out of DC and Atlanta, Georgia. We do a lot of work in the Microsoft space, helping strategic decision makers on how they maximize enterprise social in the Microsoft stack. I wrote the book SharePoint for Project Management. It's the very first business-focused book. It's been around a couple years. And for being here in my session, everybody will get a copy. When you walk out, there's a blue bag in the back. Just drop your name, business card, and I'll send you a copy. You want that? Yeah. All right, good. So let's get going here. So are you guys ready? Are you ready for this revolution? I call this revolution because enterprise social, while we think it's coming, guess what? It's already here. You see, there are 4 things that's going on today that marks that it's here. Number 1, it's the whole BYOD movement, bring your own device, consumerization of IT. Is that going on in your company where everybody has their own phones? Every executive must have their iPad. You're one of those executives. And then IT is a nightmare how they integrate all this stuff. The revolution's happening. What about the revolution of the speed of business? I mean, who would have thunk a video that was uploaded last July in December is the most viewed video on YouTube that made that person $8 million? I wish I was that guy. But it's just so fast, and we're not expecting that. And we're now pressed to do more with less. Budgets are being cut. People are being reduced, but you still have to deliver the same set of services and business and mechanism to your organization. Lastly, people are more collaborative today with technologies, with the speed of business. The revolution is here. And here's the question. How are we keeping up, or aren't we? IT, in fairness, is doing their best to support all these things, but it's tough, don't you think? I mean, how many of you in your organization's marketing group says, hey, IT, we got this new campaign going on, we're working with vendors, can you set up something like a website? Oh, we don't have time for that. We're working on another major project. And what does marketing do? They go sign up for online free services, Box, Google Apps, what have you, which is fine, but collectively, what if everybody in the enterprise starts doing their own thing, bring your own device, and it's hard to bring it home, right? But we can't stop that. The other thing that's going on today, speaking about social, today's generation are so plugged in to social in their consumer life, right? You know, you think about Facebook, Twitter, and there's certain characteristics of the generation that, guess what, they're bringing into the enterprise. Number 1, today's generation, they multitask. They're in the MTV generation. They get a tweet on their phone. They do Pinterest on their iPad. Suddenly, they work on their Mac. That's just how they do it. They communicate in real time, right? IMing, Facebooking. They work anytime, anywhere with anything. Ann was just talking about that earlier. Expect seamless tech experience. How are we providing that in the enterprise? Unfortunately, we're not. And if we do it half-baked. let me ask you, how many of you in organizations have SharePoint? Raise your hand, okay? How many of you in your organization, users of SharePoint, hate it? They would say, SharePoint sucks. Yeah, it's okay. So here's a tip for you. When you go back, when you see those users, and they tell you SharePoint sucks, look at them straight in the eye and say, SharePoint doesn't suck, you suck. It's a freaking tool. You're a tool. We're in the right session, right? Engagement, so I expected laughter here. The social generation today keeps tabs on his peers and colleagues, who they are, what they do, their interests, what's happening. So what I'm trying to say here, gang, is this type of activity, while it's going on in the consumer world, it's creeping into the enterprise, and how are we supporting this? We're not. Today, while the big buzzword about enterprise social, oh, we have enterprise social, we got news feeds, we got Yammer, we got whatever other tool there is. Really, is it working if you're on it, want to be honest with yourself? I had a customer, I was working with them, they're going to roll out a whole social enterprise tool set to 80,000 people. They told me, Dux, what do you think? We're going to introduce news feeds, wikis, surveys, blogs. I go, oh. Why? Dead silence, just like this. So that makes me insecure being an immigrant, that my English not good enough. I change it up. I said, ¿por qué? What do you mean, Dux? I go, what does blogs, wikis, news feeds, what does that mean? That's what the business is asking for. The CIO went to some conference saying we should have enterprise social. So we're going to do it. Okay. What does it mean for the business? What does that mean to Miss Betty in accounting who's retiring in 2 years and all her life she's been using Excel? Until you can prove that, social schmotional. And that's what's going on today. We're so focused on technology that we don't really stop and think about what it's going to mean. Do you actually know what enterprise social means? Gartner has a great quote about it. Can you read with me? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Enterprise social is an important method for enhancing communication, coordination, collaboration for what? So when he told me we're going to use wiki, what? For what? For all I know, wiki is good for scratching. Wiki, wiki, wiki. Unless you can prove me that, whatever. So, what I'm going to show you in the remaining time are 3 specific steps on how you drive change and make this work. What I'm going to talk about is, even if you know the business needs, even if you have the platform in place, the next challenge you're going to have is how do you drive change? How do you make people adopt and use this? Number 1, the first thing you got to do to drive change from a enterprise social perspective is you got to engage with key business stakeholders. They have to understand the business need, the business value of the platform. If all you're saying that we're just going to have this tool for the sake of having it, forget it. You know, SharePoint rolled out in a lot of enterprises, 80% is used nothing more than a glorified file share. Would you agree? Is that a good use of your investment? It's a great social platform, but it's a big file dump. Because guess what? The higher-ups from the get-go really didn't stop and think about what it's going to do for their business. You got to identify relevant use cases. So for example, when we talk about businesses, you know, what are your strategic drivers? Dux, our budget has been cut. We got to do more with less. Okay, so how are we going to do that? We're a Microsoft shop. Okay, let's look at your stack of tools. Let's work towards the goal of doing more with less. The whole, oh, Dux, we got to better collaborate. The whole collaboration kumbaya doesn't mean jack squat. For what? Right? When we talk to business users, it's about their lives. The problem today with enterprise social tools is we take a fast food approach, and which IT does all the time, but it doesn't work with enterprise social. What do you mean by fast food approach? This is what I see in the enterprise. How do you like your enterprise social marketing department? Do you want a collaboration site, a survey, a wiki, maybe a newsfeed? How about let's supersize it with follows and likes? Next. They'll take it, and then they'll just make it a big file dump. But what if you shift the conversation about their world, about their needs? I'm going to show you a little video here. This is a day in the life of people working on projects. And we're going to see how enterprise social tools, in this case Microsoft tools, can help them. Sir, can you bring up the volume just to make sure?
Meet my colleague Alex. He and I are working on putting together a presentation for our boss. Thanks to SharePoint 2013, we're able to easily centralize and manage all related artifacts and communications for this project. On a typical day, Alex would start working from home using his Mac. He would check his email from a browser and start work from there. Looks like Alex is reviewing the tasks for the project, and he has some questions for me about the project. Just by using the browser, he's able to instant message me using technologies like Link. One of the key benefits of SharePoint 2013 is a deep integration with existing tools that we already use, like Microsoft Office, smartphones, and even web-based technologies. So even if I am out and about, I'm still not at the office yet, I can easily respond to Alex on my phone and update my task. The beauty with SharePoint 2013 is that I can continue working with Alex once I get to the office. You just assign me a task on the project site, and look at what happens. It automatically shows up on my task list in Microsoft Outlook. Isn't that cool or what? Additionally, within Outlook, I can email the entire team directly using this neat feature called Site Mailbox. The Site Mailbox is available not only in Outlook, but it's the same Site Mailbox that the team can see and interact with directly on the project site. The Site Mailbox also provides visibility to all the documents I have in the project site. So what do you think? Are you excited? I am. This is the new way to work together with SharePoint 2013.
So where am I going with here? When you want to engage with business stakeholder, you got to understand what their pain points are. For example, projects. Do you know the #1 project management tool today is what? You know what? What? No, that's number 3. Email. Really? Where's that status report? Let me check my email. Where's that expense information? Let me check my email. We're in 2013 for crying out loud. Everybody has an iPhone 5, Galaxy S4 or 5, right? You got TiVo at home because you got to record Dancing with the Stars. You got GPS in your car. And we use a 1973 technology to manage projects. And we know what the pain is. You know how it is. You know, it gets lost in the email. You send one document. It goes out to 5 people. You get 10,000 back. It's just a mess, and people feel the pain. Shape the conversation around that. Well, hey, what if we can centralize everything in a one-stop shop, single platform? Not only can we store the artifacts, but we can communicate in real time, regardless if you're at home with your Mac or on your mobile. It doesn't have to be those age-old Windows machine or on your iPad. Real-time communication to what? Enhance communication, coordination for business purposes. Y'all with me? Y'all with me? Yeah. Pardon my heavy southern twang. I'm from deep south. Southeast Asia, that is, Manila, Philippines. But the point being is, the first step to drive culture change, if you want to throw these social tools, is what's in it for me. It's not just about a wiki, a newsfeed, or a site. Does it get my job done faster, sooner, quicker? Can I deliver better service to my customer? Can I generate new sales? If you cannot answer that, don't do anything. A wise man once said, right? Stop, collaborate, and listen. Second step. Does this make sense? Is it helpful? To drive change and maximize enterprise social is you have to establish a roadmap. Here's the reality, gang. You put in an enterprise social platform, and you roll it out, when everybody loves it. Now here's the problem. IT can't handle it. It's too much. Hey, what about this? What about that? You should help me. We have this initiative going on. Because as you roll this out, it's something new, right? People won't grok it right away. You got to do it baby steps. You got to do it with low-hanging fruits first, and you got to establish a roadmap. So what do I mean by establishing a roadmap? I got to fess up. My name's really not Dux. It's Dux L. My father's Kal-El. My grandfather's Jor-El. I thought I could do it all, you know. My big boss came from some conference saying, yeah, we're going to do enterprise social, stick it in. Oh, how hard could it be? I come from a long line of superheroes. On top of my day job, being a system admin, I rolled out this social platform. I signed everybody up. The floodgates open. But that's just me. If I want to gain business value, do I have the skill set and the time to engage with the business and understand, hey, you can utilize Yammer like this so you can better collaborate with the vendor. Hey, Miss Sally in accounting, instead of emailing Excel files back and forth, do you know you can synchronize Excel with SharePoint so you get a cutout email? Do I have that skill set and time to do that? What about this thing, adoption? You know, while we push the promise of enterprise social, the hardest part about these technologies is not the technology. It's change. Right? That's why when I asked earlier why your organization hates SharePoint, it has nothing to do with SharePoint. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the key here is it's not just about adoption. Listen, this is big. Change your life. It's about sustainable adoption. A lot of organizations, when they look at enterprise social platform, collaboration platforms, they equate it to training. We got a new tool. We're going to send everybody to end user training. And life will be great. No, you already know that. And who's going to do that? And then last but not the least, who's going to take care and maintain the platform and support people using the platform? You don't just throw it out there and it's going to live by itself. Everybody with me? So the key is you got to establish a roadmap. So what does this roadmap mean, or what does it look like? How do I do this, Dux? Essentially, you have to prioritize. You have to prioritize based on business needs. What are you going to do first, and then what are you going to do next? So I'm going to show you an example, and if you later on, if you drop your contact info, I'll send you all the resources I have and checklists I have and whatnot. So here's what I do in my day job, right? So in my day job, we help organizations that has these kinds of platforms, mostly Microsoft-based platforms. They said, Docs, we got SharePoint, now what? We want to reap the business best benefits, but we can't get our heads around how to do this. So we go in and help them draw an enterprise social, a SharePoint roadmap on how they can maximize the business value. So one of the first things we do, we engage with key people in the business. So this is an example for an organization that has 8,000 people. IT brought us in. They said, Docs, help us figure out how to drive business value with our SharePoint platform. So I talked to people in operations group, HR, etc. So this is just a screenshot. And really what I asked them is, can you tell me what are some of the pain you're encountering? What do you mean, Docs? For example, I mean, do you have any processes that's so manual, you know, it's all email driven that you wish it could be better? Oh, yeah. You know, we got this thing called accident report reviews. Somebody fills up a Word document from the network share and then emails it to somebody else. And that whole thing is just so messy. It would be great if we can automate that and have some kind of real-time capability. So as they're talking to me about this, I document on this column on the out-of-the-box capability of the social technology. And in this case, it's SharePoint, right? So you got emergency communications, premium pay process, HR monthly metrics report, onboarding, whatever. And then after I talk to them, the last question I ask them, okay, operations, if there's something that I can help you with right now, today, what would it be? Can you prioritize it for me? Yes, Docs. If we can automate this accident report review forms right away, that would be great because lives are at stake. And then number two would be emergency communications, whatever. You follow me? Once they do that, they know their business better than I do my job. I take based on their business needs, which I already kind of mapped to some social technology, and then I assess it. Because I want to have a quantifiable measure on how important this feature is to the business. Be it a news feed, be it a like, a follow, a tagging, a site, So in this case, I have HR and operations. These are the feature listing based on the business needs I gotten earlier. Y'all follow me? So what's the priority? 5 is the highest. So for example, for HR, based on their needs, SharePoint lists and document libraries would always be number 5, would always be needed. What's the size and effort to build those for HR? These numbers mean something. I have a legend at the bottom that says 2 is 20 hours to do, based on a specific skill set. So there's a metric on how much effort. What's the business impact? 3, it's a high business impact. How reusable is this thing we're going to build for HR? 1, it means it's a one-time use. 2 means it's reusable by HR. 3, it means it's reusable by the whole enterprise. And then I have a solid value. There's a math behind the scenes here. And this value total is the business value of that feature. So now if I ask you, why are we putting these wikis again? Because it's going to help HR with their onboarding process. Y'all with me? Now I have a solid number. And now we can also look at how much IT can do and cannot do, right? What's the implementation impact for IT? It's 10 hours. What about support impact? 10 hours a month. What about training impact? What's the total IT impact? Now you can bring the business and IT and look at this and say, hey, we should do this because it's going to help HR. IT goes, whoa, it's a 3. We don't have the resource or the budget for that. But HR, if it's going to help you be more productive and be more efficient, why don't you pony up some, get a resource, train a resource, and we'll guide you to do that. After that conversation, a priority list comes in. You see these 3 different colors. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. This was an 18-month rollout of an enterprise social platform for a government organization. Does this help? Only to him. No, I'll send you the spreadsheet if you're interested, yeah? Number 3. So the first step is you got to engage key business stakeholders. They got to understand it's about the business. Enterprise social doesn't matter. Business matters. Number 2, you got to prioritize. Based on your resources, what your immediate needs are, support those immediate needs first. Number 3, once you roll it out, how do you make it happen? You got to drive sustainable adoption. Training alone is not enough. This is a big shift. This is a big change in how people do work. Do you remember when email first came out? Anybody? When email was like prime time in the mid-90s? I remember I had a customer, I sent an email. He printed the email out, handwritten the response on that printout, and then faxed it back to me. Well, gang, that's no different than what we're doing today. I see people in the enterprise sending an email. I've uploaded the document to that SharePoint site. By the way, I've attached it too, just in case. You know who you are. When we talk about sustainable adoption, it needs to go through time. And it needs to be phased approach, bite size. You got to drive awareness first, just like the initial conversation you have with the executives. Make them realize the business power of this platform. And then you got to get some sort of buy-in where you roll out the initial training, people start using it, and once they do, it has to be integral as a part of their day-to-day work. You see, here's another point. Listen, killer apps for today is Outlook and Excel and Word. Everybody's killer app, those 3 tools, right? You got to shift people's thinking around enterprise social as a business essential tool. I'm so fed up walking to organizations and say, Dux, I don't like how SharePoint looks. Make it pretty. That's not the point. I mean, you could make SharePoint as like a public website, but it's going to help you do your job better, faster, easier. If people don't think about it that way, then something's wrong. Now, past that, you don't just stop there. You got to have continuous engagement activities. Work with your corporate communications and HR folks. In one organization I'm working with right now, we're going to do SharePoint Idol at their lunch and learns. People are going to showcase their work and they'll get awards. In another organization I work with, once we roll out an enterprise social platform to encourage people to use it, every week there's a competition, a contest, and whoever gets it right first, that group gets points. After 2 months, the finance group got the most points. Check this out. The prize, everybody got a day off. To make this work, we have to do it differently. To make this work, it cannot be the same IT approach. Oh, we're going to roll this out, you get training, life will be great. It's a wonderful concept, but IT has to work with business to make enterprise social happen. Lastly, what's the goal of going through this sustainable adoption program? You want to drive excitement. You want to get people excited about the possibilities of making their work, their life easier. You want to facilitate change for the positive. Instead of Miss Betty spending 6 hours every month collecting Excel files via email, what if you can cut that down in half? And then you want to empower people and have them help each other. In the true nature of social, you think about social networks, Facebook is not centralized. You can talk to anybody in your friends, you can interact, you can tag, you can answer questions. Conceptually, you want to put that in your organization that will drive business value. So, 3 steps. Engage your key business folks. Establish your roadmap and priorities, and facilitate sustainable adoption. What do you guys think? Is this helpful? I have one question, though. Are you guys ready?
We're ready
to lead the revolution? Are you ready to lead the revolution? Raise your hand.
Yes.
Raise your hand.
Yes.
I want you to stand up. If you raise your hand, stand up. We're going to lead this revolution. Stand up. All right? I'm going to teach you these 3 steps. All right? To lead the revolution, you got to do it differently. All right? We're going to do this in the chorus. You put your right hand over your left hand. Right foot, left foot, left foot, right foot, all right? You see, you gotta be brave. You gotta do it differently. You can't do it by yourself. We're all in this together. Are you ready? You ready? All right, so when the chorus kicks in, we're going to lead this revolution with these 3 steps. All right. I know this is so 2012, but I figured Harlem Shake won't work for this. All right, let's hear. Put your hands together now. Remember, engage the business decision makers. All right? You ready? Your roadmap and your sustainable adoption. Okay, let's do it.
Oppan Gangnam Style.
All right, thank you.
Oppan Gangnam Style.
That's engagement. Questions?
You know, I thought he'd be a pretty good speaker if he weren't so shy.
So I'm not allowed to come back next year?
Yeah, all right.
Questions? Yes, sir.
You said it took you 18 months to implement the strategy in the government.
For that specific
right.
spreadsheet, 8,000
Right.
people, yeah.
When was that, and how successful was it, and where it is today?
Very good question. So for that was in early 2011. They already had the SharePoint platform. It was a big file share. So we went back and looked at what their initiatives are, what they're doing. The first 12 months, the last 6 months, priorities changed. But after the first 12 months, people made it as a part of their daily work. Where is it today? They're growing the platform. They're enhancing their day-to-day business work. So little things, right? So here's another point I want to make. A lot of times when we think about enterprise social, we keep introducing new buzzwords and new stuff. And people are scared about that. Listen, enterprise social breeds contempt. Familiarity breeds adoption. The way you should introduce this is through tools and processes that people are familiar with. People love Excel. People love Word. I mean, Outlook, that's open all day long, right? So we use those tools, and that's the beauty of the Microsoft stack, is it can interact with all these social tools as the main entry point. And once they get past that, they love it. They say, oh, I could do more. I want more. I want more workflows now. I want more automated reporting, dashboard. By the way, dashboard, is that big in your company? That's the secret to career success. You want to get promoted? Use that one word, dashboard. You see your boss, dashboard, you get promoted right away. But today, they're still using it. They're growing the platform. But they started with these little day-to-day business challenges they have.
I have a follow-up question, if you don't mind. So what about you said were 1,800 people, right?
8,000.
8,000 people?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you have any metrics around if the population is bigger, the
Oh, yeah.
change adaptation is takes
Absolutely.
longer? Okay.
Right now, I'm working with an organization with 100,000 people around the world. driving sustainable adoption program. Yeah? And then another organization I'm working with is 5,000 people. But it's different, but the context, the construct is pretty much similar. Yeah. Other questions? Yes, sir?
How do you see the gamification as a business as usual? You mentioned gamification elements in the adaptation phase.
Absolutely. Gamification is a big, big part of this. I don't just use that word to my users because they get gamification. But for example, the example I said, this organization, when IT rolled out this enterprise platform, one of the things we did is their training is 20-minute chunks every week, just online. They watch it, right, for 2 months. And part of this is in the guise of having SharePoint Olympics. You watch this 20-minute video, and after the video, there's an assignment, and your department go and build this assignment, whatever it may be. It may be expense automation. It could be building a simple form or better collaboration solution. And if you want to build this, by the way, here's a repository of how you can learn. And if you learn something, document it here in the wiki, and people will give you points. Whoever collectively as department has the most points, so this was done for 2 months, 20-minute chunks every week. The department with the most points, everybody got a day off. Gamification is just using gaming theory, rewarding people, driving excitement, right? In SharePoint 2013, they invested a lot in the SharePoint community. It's a feature intended for that. There's gamification tools in there. You get awards, you get points, you get likes. You could be a mayor or something. Yeah, he's the mayor of the HR policy document. Woohoo! What else?
What would you say is the percentage of SharePoint's total capabilities that people are actually taking advantage of?
About 2. And that's a disappointing part. A lot of organizations, enterprises, are Microsoft shops. It's not perfect. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is a perfect tool. But the point people miss is it's tightly integrated with Outlook, Excel, Word, all this stuff people use day in, day out. It's an easy way in. Yeah?